Good morning, everyone. Forgive my presentation. I've uh, I've got out of bed not long ago, and because all this shift work it messes up with your sleep. Anyway, um, I want to clarify something about the channel first of all, and that is yesterday I made a live stream in Portuguese. And I've noticed that some of the subscribers dropped out of the channel. And I know exactly why. Because they went there, they saw it was live, but it didn't meet their expectations. And so, because it was in Portuguese and it was completely about a microcosmos, a micro environment, which is where I live. It's local politics issues. It's issues about housing, roads, and local political measures. And so, and it was in Portuguese. It was done in Portuguese. Although I will add English subtitles to it for anyone who might be interested. I know there are a lot of English-speaking residents here where I live. But that was it. So I just want to clarify that those will happen occasionally. I don't want to split the channel that much. And I was, before going in live, I was reluctant in putting it also live on YouTube because we went live on Facebook. And I was thinking for a moment of putting that on YouTube, and I ended up, oh, what the hell? Let's go live on both platforms. Yeah. Anyway, putting that aside, I want to comment. I want to do a follow-up from my previous video, the one I've done sitting in the car, where I mentioned about, where I commented the optimism of a more balanced or a more pro-Russian vision, which I think is more balanced actually, of the affairs following the UN meeting. And you know, the general feeling that the support for Ukraine is waning, and this can be game over for Zelensky and all of that. And today, when I woke up, I turned to my home spy, my own personal home spy, which is a Google device. And as I do every morning, I ask him to play the latest episode of the Duran podcast. And there it was, a compilation. It was not the last episode, but the previous one. It was a compilation of all that information and the building of the theory that this is it. This is something that is going to happen, and some of the arguments were in fact quite incisive. I don't know if that's the correct word. For example, the news about Poland dropping out cutting military aid to Ukraine. And I had to dig a little bit more about that, because I still maintain my stance that the US it's not going to let Ukraine fall due to very logical reasons, as I stated previously. And I was reading an article on The Guardian, because the spokesman for Piotr, I don't remember the second name, Poland spokesman, Piotr something, forgive me. I do not have a backup here with me. I'm just on my phone. And but anyway, a government spokesman for Poland clarified the declarations about the cessation of military aid, saying that, and this is actually true, saying that they are just fulfilling the agreements they had. They are not breaking any agreement of aid to Ukraine. There are tensions, because don't forget that Poland's elections have a big weight on this. They need the support of the farmers. It's quite a big community in Poland, and you know, the grain import was at the center of all this splitting in relations between Poland and Ukraine. And of course, the Polish argue that their farmers' interests come first, and then Ukraine didn't like that, and then now Poland says military aid is going to be cut, but it's actually, it doesn't mean that much. Forgive me, the Duran community that might look at this video, because I have criticized the Duran for several times now. But the thing is, I do, let me state this, I do think that Duran does an excellent job. They definitely have more capacity than me to do analysis, and they have a machine set up, and I think they are a must-go channel to get informed about this. But in this particular analysis, I must continue to disagree, because let's take a look at one small fact. The ones that are mainly responsible, they inject the bulk of the military aid injected in Ukraine comes from no less than the US. And also the US is the main interested in this whole geopolitical chess move of Ukraine. We know they created all the mess in Ukraine. We know how it went when the visits of John McCain, the Nulands, the Jeffrey Piatz and the like. We know all how that went. And so the US is actually the master of all the other countries that align with it, and that are supporting Ukraine. So actually Poland has a space to maneuver here, because it's not going to change that much. And they're not going to, for example, Poland it's like the repair yard. It's the main logistical hub for Ukraine deliveries, and the main logistical hub for recovering broken equipment, and that's not going to end. That's not going to end. And believe me, if the US wants to put military hardware in Ukraine, they will put military hardware in Ukraine. You don't need to know about it. Don't forget that every time the US was like, nah, we're not going to send this, things were already on the way. And later they were saying, okay, we are sending this, but things were already there. So not everything the US does is according to what they publish. So bear that in mind. And yes, so this was it's a big factor. Of course, there is one piece of news. For example, Secretary Blinken, in a press conference a couple of days ago, mentioned, and I quote, I remember this specifically sentence: "We will continue to help Ukraine for them to fight as best as they can." It's not like to fight to victory, or a decisive statement like we have no doubts about victory or something like this. And that actually gives some sign. But from that point, the waning of the support till the point of completely letting Ukraine down, I still stand for my opinion. It won't happen. They cannot lose this proxy. They never had a proxy like so resourceful like this one. They never had a foothold so solid close to the Russian border as this one, fortified Ukraine, and they will not let it go lightly. They might play with it. That's a whole different story. They might play with it. I mean, they might force it to freeze for a while, the conflict. Of course, the Russians, I don't know if they're up to that. The Duran guy said they're not up to that. I think the Russians are not up to that. But with the right pressure, some of the Russian strongmen might feel tempted to do it and to pressure the Russian government to do it. This is just an hypothesis. I don't want to I don't want to give it too much strength. And so, yeah, Blinken said that, and that might be a sign of a waning. There are several signs, but like I said, not the way. It's not game over. It will only be game over maybe for Zelensky if he starts not to dance to the tune, like I mentioned previously. But is every proxy leader is replaceable. We've seen this throughout history. A hero now can be a villain in a couple of days. It's very easy to spin. I mean, the whole media machine is controlled by the US and by the big players and by the big Western players, and they can spin it in no time. In no time. This is nothing for them. This is the least of their problems, to change the narrative and to spin it. But anyways, we still had this speech Zelensky gave at the UN, and which he stated again. He reiterated the intentions of borders of 1991. If you want to know what I think, it's kind of madness. This would be like a catastrophe if this happened. We all know this. People living in this land controlled by Russia, they are all Russians, and they identify with Russia. And I mean, you can have some minorities there, but I think they still prefer to live on the Russian side, given the state of affairs in the Ukrainian side and all these banderites running amok. And so, yeah, this is what I have to say. I haven't looked through the most recent news, today's news. I haven't had the time. I had union meetings, family meetings, all sorts of things. A day off doesn't feel like a day off. Yeah. Anyway, thanks to you all. Thanks for the recent subscriptions. I really appreciate. It costs nothing. It helps me. It doesn't physically help me, but it motivates me to continue to do my videos and to continue to give my contribution to the information space about this subject. And yeah, please help me grow a little bit. It's I'm not ashamed to beg. Not with the begging bowl. I'm not asking for any monetary injection or anything like that. Just subscribe. It costs nothing. I mean, this, of course, I'm joking now, but it's true. It costs nothing. Okay, bye bye. Tune in to the next one.